Hey DeFi Dorks, and welcome to this week's episode of the Jade Protocol Sunday Saga. My name is Chris Pantelli, and as always we're going to break down what's happened over the past 7 days with Jade Protocol. It was fairly quiet going up towards the tail end of this week, and then we had the big release of the Medium article Roadmap Part 2. So we're going to get into that, find out what that means for you as Jade community members, and we'll also break down John Ray's thoughts, the project's community liaison, and a new role that appears to have been presented to him. One thing is for sure, with the Jade Protocol, the drama continues. So let's get into this. Hello DeFi Dorks, and welcome to this week's episode of Jade Protocol Sunday Saga. This is week ending the 16th of Jan. My name is Chris Pantelli, and please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button as well. It really helps out the channel, and subscribe over on Twitter as well, DeFi_Dorks. That would be awesome. Quick intro then, this is not financial or investment advice. I'm just telling you what I've witnessed over the past 7 days with regards to the Jade Protocol. And I made a monumentally inaccurate price prediction for the post-Medium article launch price on Twitter. I said that I thought we would have some explosive price movement following the launch of the Medium article, and while we did get quite a big spike, that was quickly followed by a large retracement. It seems the price action worked slightly differently this time round, and there was quite a big momentum build up prior to the launch. And then when we got a rising spike, we had a quick sell-off. So that would suggest that we had intraday day trading and scalpers within the market. Anyone wise to how these Medium articles work with the launch of these Medium articles and how they can affect price, anybody that's wise to that can play these fast plays with price movement and make a quick buck. So they're probably not people interested in the protocol or the project, and just trying to make a fast scalp, and that appears to be what has happened. That being said, for me, at least initially on the first read of the Medium article, and pre any of John Ray's interpretations of what was said, I did find the article quite underwhelming. It was clearly not written, it was not written by Einstein, as was stated in the article. And it's interesting because without sort of Einstein's panache and the way that what often causes a lot of drama in the Discord groups with the way that he presents himself and presents the information. That being said, he does manage to stir a reaction, and we do get some interesting movements on price, whereas this was a lot more tapered, a lot more withdrawn, this article. And some of the more interesting points might have been buried within the text. And on second or third read, I would suggest that I'm probably a bit more bullish than I originally was. But that being said, it isn't the most fascinating of articles. And I think if you are in the smart or smarter swap situation, then you're either going to be pretty peed off with this, or you've really got to be behind the project to see the value in what the proposition is. But we'll get into that in a bit. And as always, do your own research. For me, and you'll see by the end of this project now has definitely shifted to a much more long-term set and forget play. I don't have the time to be as active in the Jade community as I probably thought originally, and I think there's going to be a lot going on, and it's nice to see some developments with what John Ray will be contributing, and that does give me quite a good sense that some of Jade's investments at least will be in the hands of good, knowledgeable people, and that's going to do good things for the growth of the Jade treasury, the floor price, and then obviously the actual price. So that's good to know. But for me, as this was obviously originally for everybody, a high APY rebase project looking to put your money in and compound those returns over a relatively short period of time, that isn't what it is now. So if that's not something you're interested in, then you might want to wait for a reasonable price, get out at break even, take a small loss, or see if you can take some profit, depending on where your entry was and whether or not you managed to DCA throughout the price movement. Okay, so this week's saga. DeFi Dorks, I've taken a couple of new positions. So my portfolio, for which I was starting to look to make relatively small and ape into just one or two projects. I am now in a bunch of projects, and I'm really pleased that I managed to get my first Strong block token. So that is by far and away my biggest investment. Strong is currently hovering around the $650 mark, and I think you do need 10 Strong blocks for a node. So that is by far and away my biggest investment. I'm hoping to break even within the sort of 100-day mark, get my money back, and then I will be taking profits going forward on that. So I can keep you updated on that. Initially on the DeFi Dorks channel, I wanted to focus on 1, 2, or 3 projects max. So if I get any feedback from anyone wanting me to do more videos on my Strong block node, then I will be happy to do that. I'm also in a really, really interesting new project, Vapor nodes as well. Really, really, really intrigued by the node space. Learning as I go and getting ever deeper into the rabbit hole. But the Vapor nodes is, I managed to get in at an absolutely extremely good price. As you can see on the current chart here, I actually got in about this was a few days ago. So this is yesterday. No, this is the 15th. Let me just shorten this up a bit. I'm on the 5-minute chart. That's why. I got into this literally about I think it was about the 14th, was it? Yeah, I was about here. Just as the price came back down to this support level, just as it broke above here, I think it was around my entry. So this would have, oh no, that's yesterday. I do apologize. It would have been here. So we had a breakdown here and we came back up. I think I got here. So I went into a small loss for a moment. Well, it's not really a loss with nodes, but price moved to the downside, and it's obviously had an explosive growth up here. Vapor nodes is a super interesting project. You can auto compound your return straight back into the node. There's no node size limit. You currently need 25,000 tokens. So when I got in, it was $500 or $600, I think. It's now about $1,500. And this thing I think is really going to take off. Check out YouTube. There's some really interesting, did a really interesting AMA. And the team looks really, really interesting, really, really, really cool. So I'm really excited about that. And if you want to know more about that, how to set up the Vapor nodes, how to get involved with the project, what it all means, I can make videos on that. Let me know. But this is Jade Protocol. So let me stop talking about that. That's enough aping in for me now. I promise that's it. I'm done. At least for now. Any future investments will be made from any profits made or taken from current projects that I'm involved in. Right, Jade Protocol. MetaMask has just logged me out. Let me just log back in. Okie dokie. So price charts and dashboard. Last week's dashboard. So taking a couple of screenshots from my last week's YouTube video, where we can have a look at what the floor price was, the growth that we had last week on the previous week, circulating supply back in treasury, percentage of stake Jade, and then the investment treasury. So if you remember, the two treasuries have been split into two in order to raise this floor price. And then we also had the current Jade price and the fair market value. So let me just take a quick dive into where we are now. Just refresh this page. Okay, so the current Jade price is $24.12. So we've had about a $6 drop in the price from where we were at the time of recording last week. Fair market value was at 181.91, and we're currently at 161.51. So the floor price is currently $20.93, and last week we were at floor price of $20.93, so no change in the floor price. We had 71.2% of Jade staked last week, and we are currently at 67.85. So a small percentage reduction in the amount of Jade staked. So that's the dashboards, and as you can see, we'll take a look at price now. We're on the 15-minute chart here. This was the build-up to the Jade article being released. And as you can see, we had a big spike. Price fell, tried to retest, failed, and then it's fallen out of the bottom. And we've been holding pretty steady around the $24 mark for basically the last 3 to 4 hours. So quite interesting. I think John Ray mentioned this in his video, that clearly if you know the score, as we saw, people were building the price here. And then when the article released, we think we got a pretty decent spike. So we might have had some scalpers taking some profit, and then they got out quickly. So it is what it is. That's the way the day traders and people with bigger bags than us are going to be able to play the market. That's how it works. I'm going to now dive into a couple of things that happened. John Ray held an AMA on the Twitter Spaces, which is, if you're not familiar with Twitter Spaces, it is a really, really good way to listen to the way projects are developing. You can also put your hand up and ask questions directly. So that was really interesting. He held that on the 11th. I think he's done another one since as well, but I just highlighted this one. You can get involved in the AMAs. John Ray will put them on Twitter, and it's definitely worth getting involved, because you can hear voices of other community members, and there is a lot of smart people out there, which is one of the reasons why I'm still in this project. I mean, I could sell for a loss now, even though I DCA'd in. It would be a small loss if I sold now. I think John Ray is probably the one single thing that's keeping me in this, and the way that he breaks down everything makes me quite bullish for the future possibilities with Jade. But there is only so long that we can discuss what could happen. Even as good as John presents that, at some point we're going to need to start seeing results, which I do believe was touched upon within the Medium article. It was a little bit buried, a little bit thrown in there, but we will definitely get more information on what the team behind Jade Protocol has been up to with the release of the first sort of investment report coming on the 1st of next month. So who knows? That could be an interesting time, especially if they've started to make some good returns through the yield farming and some of the other investments. They say they're up on all their current investments, but I will go through that again as well. Jade Protocol Twitter account did make one tweet, I think, over the course of the week, maybe a couple of retweets, but one main one from their account. They set up a new sort of Jade arena to play games, and they had a chess game and they announced a winner. Fine, a bit lighthearted, a bit fun. I know a lot of people are, really pissed off with the price movement and want to get their money back. I am a Jade only investor, so people that were also involved in the Smart and Smarter projects are quite possibly livid. I do understand that to an extent. I can empathize as opposed to sympathize, because I'm not in that position. But they say they've been working hard behind the scenes, and also it was mentioned that Einstein has had COVID. So we'll have to see if we have any more information directly from the project account in the coming days and weeks. It's quite a nice community feature, and for a while there, the footing was down and people were talking about the game. So there we go. Okay, now the Medium Roadmap 2 article was released. So I'm going to go through that in a second. John Ray did had a playback on the Twitter Spaces that you can look at. So this was actually prior to the Medium article release, but post a couple of YouTube videos in relation to the Smarter Swap and the Project X. So the timeline for this was John Ray released 2 YouTube videos, one in relation to the Smarter Swap and one in relation to the Project X. That was then highlighted more in the Medium article released by Jade Protocol. So as you can see, these 2 videos here. We then had the release of the Medium Roadmap 2 article, and then John Ray released another big chunky YouTube video doing his breakdown of the Medium Roadmap Part 2 article. So if I just briefly dive into the Medium article, and I can give you my take on what I've seen. So we had a new person involved here, this Kevin Randleman. I haven't Googled yet, so if anybody wants to do that, drop a comment if you know anything, find any information out about him. But we had 3 team members, only a first name given, so that's fine, but this tends to not mean much unless you can dive in and see these people. Anyone can write anything. I'm not claiming that this is, a rug, but people are still claiming that. People are saying that the team isn't delivering. And if you're going to, name drop and credential drop, then you should, in my opinion, full name and surname drop with credentials so they can be verified. This would have a lot more weight and gravitas behind it if, they linked out to a LinkedIn or a personal Twitter, anything to sort of give an instant verification of who these people are and the fact that these credentials can be, verified and checked out. So I won't go through exactly who these three people are, but one of them is meant to be a big time VC investor with crypto and whatnot. Then we have another guy who has also done some private global equity fund stuff, and then another senior blockchain developer guy, which is fine. But again, I won't dwell on the point that I'm making. These people aren't docs. There's no, can't do any further information, any further research. So that's fine, but that's just my opinion on if they're going to do it properly. Okay, so this is the part of the article for me which got a bit buried. I didn't dive too much into this, but they've actually outlined 4 of their current positions that they're using with the investment treasury. So that's quite interesting. Real life investments. As you can see here, they've gone for 50,000 CVX, and then they're telling us how that's been subdivided and the estimated ROIs on those. So nothing huge here. Still, way better than the the high street banks or even traditional VC funds. But we will need to see how they deliver on these. What is interesting here is they provided their internal documentation. So if you click here, you can see all of their internal team documentation on how it is that they have analysed these reports and how it is that they have come to the conclusion that these are worthwhile investments. So these are pretty detailed. This does give me a bit of bullish sentiment. This wouldn't have been quick and easy to put together. I'm not saying this makes up for the sustained low price, but at least it's given us some insight into the internal workings of the project. And they've done that for all 4 of these. So I think this will be an incredibly valuable feature if we start to get some proof of concept from the team and we start getting results delivered. So if you can just fast forward 6 months or even 12 months where we've had a number of monthly report documents come out, the project is producing verified return on investments, and we can see that going directly into the investment treasury. As that starts to happen and people start to gain confidence in the team and the hires that the team have made, then these internal documents that are provided by the team will definitely provide alpha that you may want to act on as additional investments and revenue generating investments, because we will see that these reports have not only been well produced, well researched, acted upon, but then also delivered results for which we could also replicate from separate segregated private accounts. So that is interesting. But again, we are still very much at the stage of we need the proof in the pudding. We need to start seeing some results as opposed to hugely hyped medium articles with very little substance. Again, when John Ray breaks these things down, I'm so bullish on his abilities. Gives a bit more information as well about his background, working for Google and some of the things that he's achieved. So if he's having a direct contact with the Jade team, which he clearly does, then he obviously has a strong belief in the team's abilities, and that does have a knock-on feeling for myself as well. But again, we are just waiting for some proof of concept. So hopefully this first report published in February will show us that some of these investments are paying off. They actually say that all of these trades that they've made, these 4 trades so far, are up. This got a little bit of slack in some of the discords that they're talking about their new UI, UX UI design, which is great, but we've had a monumental downturn in the value of the Jade token, and changing the website up a little bit might not satisfy a lot of people's disdain for the current state of the affairs with regards to Jade Protocol. Having said that, it will look better when the website's done. There's probably no doubt about that, but will it incentivize more investors and more people to put their money into Jade. We will see. This is meant to be coming out in the next 30 days, so stay tuned for that. Then we get onto the smarter Jade swap details. I'm not going to go through this. As I said, this is not part of my purview. I am not somebody who was ever involved in Smarter or Smarter, and therefore this doesn't really pertain to me at all. Having said that, if you are somebody who was involved in the Smarter and Smarter projects and you're looking to be made whole, you really need to do your own research on this and see whether or not you agree that it will. Project X is probably something that is worth touching on because this is a side project that John Ray will be running. The go-ahead was given by Jade, and he will get access to a slice of the treasury, a healthy slice of the treasury, in order to run this Project X. Now, the Project X details are here. You can watch the video, the YouTube video, which is the what is the Project X, and then he also has the Project X link, which I believe I'd put in this document, so I'm not sure where that's gone. Right, that's fine. Let's go here. Let's go to John Ray. And this is the Project X video. Just mute that, and then this is the Google Docs here. So this is a new Project DAO owned exclusively for the Smart Coin community. I think if you want to get involved with this, you could just buy some Smart Coin now. It's obviously rock bottom price. You can get up a shit ton of coins for $10 or $20. And that probably will give you access to this if you have time and you're looking to have an active part in a project run by somebody who really does know what they're doing. He seems like a totally awesome bloke. So that is something that you could do. Whether or not this is a big benefit to the actual Smart and Smarter holders, again, this is going to take time. And there is talks, or certainly the outline of this is to lock up and bond the Smarter coins in a bonding period. That's part of the swap details, 1, 2, 3 or 4 years. So again, it's a long-term commitment in order to try and be made whole on that initial Smart and Smarter failings. But like I said, this isn't really my purview. I wasn't involved in this. I do like the fact that there is going to be an outlet for John Ray to have autonomy on his own project under the governance of the Jade Protocol with the Jade Treasury. And it will be very interesting to see what he does. If he succeeds, which I have no doubt that he will, then that will directly positively impact all of us Jade token holders, as any of the projects ran under this John Ray managed Jade funded DAO will directly positively impact the Jade Treasury, as it will be Jade that owns that investment. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, I had mixed feelings with the first read of the Medium article. Where we are now compared to where we are last week, we're down on price. It was a bit underwhelming, and I know a lot of people from the Smart and Smarter community are going to have mixed feelings on what's been suggested as a solution. And in terms of the proof in the pudding is what we need for this. So my investment strategy, I hold about 30 Jade. So, $1,000 floor price, which is what's been talked about, would see me, at least if we got to that, with a healthy return on my investment. But that does seem a long way off when we are currently hovering around the $24 mark, especially considering where it's come from and the journey that the price has been on so far. It's been nothing but down since basically towards the end of December, and no real significant price movement. This was the first Medium article launch, and this is the second one. So it does seem like it's dwindling. But like I said, if you hop on and you follow some of, if you watch John Ray's video, especially this Jade Smarter Project X's most recent video, it's a really interesting breakdown on his perspective. And it does make me bullish for what's possible with Jade, but it is not something that I think is going to happen within the next few weeks. or even months. This is definitely a long-term play, definitely months going into 24 to 36 months even, to really see a healthy return. I could be wrong. We'll see what the reports start delivering. They'll be coming out on the first of each month, so that will be an interesting thing to keep an eye on. And that's about it for this week's Jade Protocol. I'll try and keep you updated as best I can, and I'll cover the next 7 days in next week's Jade Protocol Sunday Saga. So don't forget, if you've enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and as well, please don't forget, drop me a comment, reach out to me on Twitter if you want to know anything about my other projects, especially my two most recent node projects that I'm in, Strongblock and Vapor nodes. This one I'm super excited about. So if anybody wants to know anything else, please don't hesitate to give me a shout out and hit me up. Okay, thanks for listening, guys, and I'll catch you next week. Thank you.